Good morning. Thank you for joining us for this webinar on the New York Forward Loan Fund. Today's presenter is Nicole Scribner. Nicole is the VP of Business Development for Pursuit Community Finance. She has spent more than 25 years in various roles in retail banking and made the transition to small business lending in 2019. She works out of the Albany office for Pursuit, covering the North Country, Central New York, Hudson Valley, and Capital regions of New York. Your webinar host is the Onondaga Small Business Development Center. The Onondaga SBDC is part of the New York Small Business Development Center's network of 22 campus-based centers and outreach offices across New York State that provide free business training like this webinar and free business advising to entrepreneurs and small business owners. The New York SBDC is also a U.S. Small Business Administration resource partner. And with that, I will turn things over to you, Nicole.
Thank you very much, Renee. So first of all, thank you to Joan at Onondaga SBDC. It was a pleasure working with her and scheduling this program for the New York Forward Loan Program to bring to business owners in Onondaga County. And thanks to Renee for the IT help. It's always a challenge for me. So having said that, I'll just dive right into it. So who are we? Pursuit, we were formerly known as the New York Business Development Corporation. We do business in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. And prior to COVID, it seems like 10 years ago, we changed our name to Pursuit. We are one entity under one umbrella now. We are a community-focused lender. We are 100% invested in our borrowers' success. We've been around for about 65 years, and we are primarily an SBA lender doing 504, 7A, and community advantage loans. I work for Pursuit Community Finance, which we have programs designed as an alternative lender to help businesses with access to capital that can't get conventional bank financing. We are a one-stop shop. If somebody comes in the door and it doesn't fit for me, maybe it'll fit with one of my partners here. And if I think that it's bank quality referral, I have a slew of bank partners that I can refer to. So I will just jump into the New York Forward Loan Program. It's an economic recovery program that was designed by New York State, by Empire State Development, to help small businesses, nonprofits, and small landlords reopen. One note, Pursuit does not do nonprofit or small landlord loans. These are just for-profit businesses. If you have a question on that, throw it in the question box and I can help you after the program and let you know who those lenders are. It is not a first come, first serve loan program. As the state opened back up, those were the businesses that got access to funding. So we had kind of tranches that went out. Right now, everybody is open, so there's really no restrictions. And we're running about a 2-week underwriting approval process. Loans are made through 5 different CDFIs, a community development financial institution, and Pursuit has been doing these right since day one. So to qualify for New York Forward, you must be operating in New York State for at least 1 year. You have to have 20 or fewer employees and only earn up to $3 million a year. I know that probably sounds like a problem, only $3 million. And you had to have suffered a direct economic hardship related to COVID shutdown. And I'm going to reference at least 5 times details. So when we do an application for you, I really need you to flesh out how did COVID impact your business. And the more detail that you can put into that, the better off your loan packages. And here's the big one. You cannot have received more than $50,000 in PPP or an EIDL loan. The grant is okay, the grant up to $10,000. PPP up to 50 and the grant up to 10,000 are okay to receive the New York Forward loan. And to verify that, once we get you to the closing process, we do ask for bank statements and we comb through them and find those deposits. So the terms, so the loan amount, it's a 3-month period of your revenue, and if you're seasonal, it's your busiest 3 months, or it's just your annual revenue basically divided by 0.25. The fixed rate is 3%, and I'm sorry, it's only up to $100,000. So if you earned $2 million, your maximum loan amount is $100,000. Your interest rate fixed at 3%. Your first 12 months are interest only. So, and then you pay that monthly. Once we close the loan, your first payment's going to kick in the full month following. And then payments 13 to 60, it's principal and interest payments. And you can just go, you're going to calculate that based on a 48-month amortization and see what your monthly payment is, because that first 12 months, you're not paying on any principal. So your months 13 through 60 are going to be amortized for 48 months. It's a 5-year loan, no application fee, no prepayment penalty or anything like that. It's just interest only. So use of proceeds. Proceeds are required to be working capital, inventory, marketing, refitting for social distancing guidelines, operating, emergency maintenance, property tax, utilities, rents, supplies, basically anything that you need to run your business. We frown upon refinancing existing debt with this loan, but if refinancing that existing debt is going to get your cash flow into a more positive position, that's probably not a bad thing. And then again, details. When you do that application, we want to know what you're going to do with this money. Help my business, I need you to really detail that out for us. Again, borrower fees, there's no application fee, and if you miss a payment, you're going to have the institution's late fee, whether it's Pursuit or one of the other 4 lenders, you'll have their late fee. Recourse, so Empire State said no collateral required. We will do simple UCC for all business assets just to put our tag on it, but we don't require you to have loan to value for your collateral. So if you're doing a $100,000 loan, we're not going to be looking for collateral of that value. It's a simple all business assets. And prepayment, you can prepay without penalty at any time. The easiest way is just to go into your bank's online banking system, create a bill pay, and whenever you have extra money, just go in and click it and tell them what to send us. So how do you apply? You're going to go out to Google the New York Forward Loan Fund application, and it will bring up a pre-application. And that's where you're going to answer questions, and we'll go through that later on in the slide. But if you would like to work with me directly, if you feel like you want to work closely, I'm more than happy to do that, and I will actually do that pre-application for you. I'll ask you to send me your tax returns and all that information first, but you do the pre-application, and it's a pre-screening, simple. It's about 10 questions, and it filters out whether or not you qualify for us. There's a few tweaks to it, so that's why I like to help you with that, because for example, if you didn't show a profit, maybe you showed a very small loss, you took a huge depreciation last year and you show a small loss, if you put in the pre-app that you had a loss, you're not going to match to us. So I want to help you through that. So work with a Pursuit business advisor, get matched, and then what's going to happen once you match with us, then you go into our underwriting queue. Once we have your tax returns, your voided check, your driver's license, and your interim financial statements, we're going to deem you whether you're credit worthy or not and move forward that way. And this is where we're going to verify if you received PPP or EIDL. So here's the profile of who is going to match to us. This is 2 or more years in business, but the Empire State Development Program says 1 year. So that is the guideline that we use, as long as you've been in business for 1 year prior to COVID. So we want to see a complete 2019 return, we're going to allow it. You have 2 or more employees. Again, if it's just a 1-person shop, we're going to allow that too. More than 100,000 in annual revenue. This is your sales tickets. This is not what your profit was. This is just your revenue. And again, if you fall below that, reach out to me. We can work around it. Guidelines were meant to be bent a little bit. So we want to see that you have break even or positive cash flow. We want to see that you can pay your bills. We're not going to require you to have, $2 of income for every $1 of bills you have going out, but we want to see that you have positive cash flow. And then the personal credit score, 620 or higher. If you think you're lower than that, call me, we'll talk about it. If you come in higher than that, great. And a big one is no prior bankruptcies, no tax liens, no open in dispute items on your credit report. We like to see things kind of buttoned down. Required documents. 2 years business and personal tax returns. A lot of our small business clients file a Schedule C. They're sole proprietors or they're single member LLCs. That's fine. I just need your 18s and your 19s. Then we need, this says year-end 19 financial statements, but we need year-to-date financial statements. So your balance sheet and your profit and loss. If you don't have those, then I'm going to need your bank statements at application to show that you are earning income, that you are open, and that you've got money coming in. Need a picture of your driver's license. Please, if it's expired and you're waiting for it from the county, your conviction card is okay with the old driver's license. I want a voided business check, and that is so that we can fund you, and that's also the account that we're going to take your payment out of. And then again, that detailed narrative on the impact of COVID. If you work with Pursuit, I'm going to get those docs from you ahead of time, and I'm going to start an application in our system, and then I send you a link and you're going to complete it, and that's where you're going to do that narrative with the details on how you've managed through COVID. So here are the application questions. This is that pre-application that's going to match you to any lender that you're going to work with. So how much do you want to borrow? The maximum loan amount is $100,000. What I want you to do is look at your 19 tax return and divide that revenue amount by 4, and you're going to get what your maximum loan amount is. So if you think that you only need a certain amount of money, but that revenue amount is more, we could potentially approve you for more. If we do that, my guidance is take it. We can't go backwards. So I've had a couple of borrowers say, oh, no, I only need $25,000 when they were approved for 50 or 75. And then 2 weeks later, they came back to me and said, you know what, we decided that we wanted to do this, this, and this, and I can't go back and get that money back. So it's 3%, it's interest only, it's relatively cheap debt. So I encourage you to take the maximum amount that you can just in case. If you want to pay that principal down, remember there's no prepayment penalty. I just encourage you to take as much as you can get. Again, up to $100,000. And I'm not even going to talk to the nonprofit and the small landlords because we don't do them. If you need that information, I can set you up. How do you plan to use your loan? Select working capital here because this isn't for any other function other than that. When do you need your financing by? This is a kind of a tricky one. I've been selecting 1 to 2 months. It doesn't discount you from our program, but in the next 2 weeks, it's probably not going to happen in this program. I know that the other 4 lenders, we've actually been working the fastest, and we've closed more loans than the other 4 lenders have. And that's not patting ourselves on the back. It's just how it's rolled out. But if you could select within 1 to 2 months, I'd appreciate that. And just basic information, what's your business name, your business type. If you don't see it in the drop down, just select other. I'm sorry, your business type is going to be your structure. So your LLC, your C Corp, your select industry is where you're going to select other if it's not directly there. And then how long have you been in business? I think your options are less than a year, 1 to 2 years, or 2 to 3, and 3 and over. So remember, you've got to be in operation for at least a year. Where is your business located? This is your physical business address, not your home address. If it is a home-based business, that's fine. Then you're going to put your home address in. One thing, you do have to be registered in New York State. So your business might be located in New York. If you're not registered in New York, when we go to close, I'm going to require it. If you need to get set up, it's very simple. There's a web link to the New York State Secretary of State, and it's just, you can keep your registration in your originating state, but we just need you to be registered as operating in New York as well. I've run into that enough times that I feel it's important to mention it here. How are we going to reach you? Email, phone, we do all of the above. I'll send up a smoke signal if I have to. I prefer email contact. Once we start working together, just shoot me an email and I will respond. Any business owners with more than 20% ownership in the business are required to be on the application. So just be prepared for that. When we do the app, we need phone numbers, email addresses for those folks too. What was your revenue last year? Hit the box that it fits. If you have more than $5 million in revenue, you don't qualify for the program, but we might have some other things, so don't be discouraged. Remember, Pursuit is that one-stop shop. If you've got more than $5 million in revenue, I got people here that will probably want to talk to you. And again, did you earn a profit last year? This is why I like to do the pre-application. If you hit no, you're not going to match to us. So just know before you do this, we should probably have a conversation around why you didn't earn a profit last year. And then what was your net profit? You can get this off your tax return. How many employees do you have, and do you have any bankruptcies? Bankruptcies is not going to, it's not going to block you from doing this. We just want to know where you're at with that. Has the bankruptcy been discharged? Have you done what you were supposed to do around that? We don't require collateral, but we want to know if you have anything else on hand. Again, that one-stop shop. I'm always looking for opportunity to, if you're a borrower that has debt that's kind of a little here and a little there, maybe we're going to take a look at what you've got and we're going to put you together and package you into something different, or at least have a conversation around it. We're going to do, most of the time, just select other here, and then we're going to do that all business assets piece. How much revenue do you expect to make this year? We're pretty close to year end, so you should have a really good idea. If you select less than 100,000, you're not going to match to us. So let's have a conversation before we do that. Do you have a business plan? Not required. I am a big fan of business planning. I'm a big fan of the SBDC, and there's a lot of clients that I have just simply referred to SBDC during COVID, just to say, here's somebody who this is what they do all day. Maybe there's some things that you need to think about. And it's not required, but it's probably a best practice. Is your business owned by women, people of color, veterans, or LGBTQ identified people? So if so, before we have that conversation, if I'm doing the pre-application, let me know and I'll be sure to mark it correctly. And it's anybody who has more than 20% stake in the business. And if it's a woman-owned business, we consider 50% ownership being women-owned. Again, here is another selection. So anybody that applies, anyone with more than 20% ownership in the business for the women, people of color, or veterans. Personal credit score. Again, you're not going to, if your credit is below 580, we're going to have a detailed conversation as to why, but our cutoff is 620. It doesn't mean if your credit comes in lower than that, we won't do a loan for you. We just have to have a conversation around it. And we don't, where it says nonprofits are not subject to credit checks, we don't do nonprofit loans here. And we pull credit on all business owners over 20%. And then this is the screen. So when we do that pre-application, you get to the end of it, and here's the screen that you're going to see who you connect to. So I prefer if you hit Pursuit, then you'll get to work with us here, but the other borrowers or the other providers are doing a fabulous job with this. And what we've encountered, if we get through the process and for some reason one of the other borrowers declines you, you can go back out and reapply and get back into the queue for another lender. We've had that happen quite a few times. When we first started the program, when it rolled out, it didn't specify landlords. So that rental income piece that we don't accept, there are two of the other providers that accept the rental income. So we had to decline the borrower because of that, and we put them back out into the queue, and they connected with one of the other lenders, and they were able to get their loans approved. So it's not dead in the water if somebody declines you. You know, we can have a conversation around it. Once you do connect, we get a notification from this system. It's called Connect to Capital. We get a notification, and then you're going to go into our intake queue, and one of us here is going to reach out to you. If you started the process with me, I'm going to be the one that follows you through. I'm going to do the intake and the closing process for you also. If you go out and do it by yourself, which is absolutely fine, you're probably going to match up with my teammates, Maureen, Jim, or Sherry. Payments. So this is just a little guideline. What is my monthly payment going to look like? If we do the maximum loan amount, you're looking at about $250 a month for those first 12 months. And then your payment will go to 22. I think we pegged it at 22.15.27 at 3%. Then 50,000, again, about half of that, $125 a month, 1,100 for months 13 through 60. And then if you do a $20,000 loan, there's your payment. So it does vary on what you borrow. If perfect scenario, we will try to underwrite you for your maximum, and then we back into what you want for the loan, and then we'll adjust it as so. I have a tool when we have your loan report done. I have a tool that can tell you, okay, I want to borrow this much. This is what my payment's going to be. It's fairly cut and dried. And there's my contact information. So I think, Renee, if you want to, we can open it up for questions now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. One of the questions was, what is the best way to get in touch with you? So thank you for landing on that slide.
Email is the best way, and that is my cell phone number. You can even text me if you want to, but email is by far the best contact.
We had a question double checking in June 2019 if they're eligible, and I said yes if they've been operating in New York State for at least 1 year. Is that correct?
Correct.
Does applying at more than one lender affect our credit score because of multiple inquiries?
You're only going to match to one lender at a time. And each time you match with a lender, so let's say you match with us and you get declined and you go out and match with another lender, they will re-pull your credit. We don't share credit in between institutions. It's about, if 30 days hasn't expired, it's going to be about a 2 or 3 point hit. That number does bounce back up though.
And you mentioned the SBDC. I put a link to our appointment page in the chat if folks want to check that out. You can also learn more about us throughout the website at nyfbdc.org. And as you mentioned, the SBDC, if you don't qualify for this loan or other loans, you could sit down with a business advisor and figure out what other options are out there. And we do have 22 centers. We're mostly virtual right now, so there is a lot of opportunity there to make an appointment and feel comfortable in that. Another question, how long do you think this fund will be available?
The fund is available until the money runs out. That is actually a really great question. So each entity was allotted a certain amount of money, and we've gone through about half of our allotment, and we've been doing this program since May. So I anticipate we're going to be in this fund until probably at least through Q1 next year.
Great, thank you. We had a late arriver that wanted to know if you could go back over the terms of the loan. I don't know if you want to jump back to that slide.
Loan terms, working capital. It is a 5-year loan at 3%. The first 12 months are interest only. After that, it goes to principal and interest. No application fee, no prepayment penalty. We just do all business assets for collateral. It's very cut and dried. It's a nice program. 3% interest only for the first year. I closed a loan yesterday for a gentleman in Erie County, and it was a $23,000 loan. His interest payment for a year was $50. So it's a nice little boost. And there's more.
And then Lenore's question, back to that one, can you repeat what you said regarding the estimated profit to
Sure.
qualify for the loan?
Sure. So to qualify for the loan, if you didn't show a profit for 2019, again, there's a lot of factors that go into that. We have some CPAs that are really super amazing about finding places for money to go for you, for your benefit. So if you don't show a profit, we need to be able to back into the fact that you can pay your bills. So, and that's cash flow. You are able to, for every dollar of debt you have a dollar of income. So if you want to take on more debt with a New York Forward loan, you need to show that your income can support that loan. And you know, if you want to email me separately, I can send you some different calculations to figure that out. But basically, if you can pay your bills and you can show us that you can pay your bills, there should be no issue.
During the presentation, you showed the section where you can check off if you're a women or minority owned business. Do you have to be a certified minority and women owned business?
No, but that's a really great question. There was just an event that was sponsored by NBT Bank about helping you get certified. I know that some people have heard that the MWBE process is quite cumbersome and huge and large and awful. It has been streamlined this year. And I can share, Renee, with you that presentation that NBT put out. It's eluding me. I almost think it was SBDC in Plattsburgh that put that on. Or the North Country Chamber. I have a Plattsburgh connection in my brain, but that was a really nice presentation. It's a great question.
Thomas said we received $150,000 from EIDL. Are we not able to borrow from this program?
You are not able to borrow from this program, but there are other programs out there. There are some organizations around the state that received CARES Act money that you could potentially qualify for. So I would reach out to SBDC to discuss that.
Absolutely. And you'll want to select in that intake form for the counseling appointment your county, so that way you're connected with an advisor who's in the loop on the funds specific to your area. You talked about a couple of the providers to this fund, like yourself. How many providers are there?
There were five CDFIs located around New York State. And I think we're the only one that is outside of New York City.
Okay, thank you.
The other providers do cover the entire state, but we are located in Albany. We have lenders out in Syracuse. We have lenders in Mid-Hudson, so we're all over.
Great, thank you. Is there a penalty for early repayment?
No penalty. And just to kind of make that a little bit more detailed, so I talked about borrowing more than you think that you're going to need. If you happen to not need that money and you make a large unscheduled principal payment back to the loan, so that money's been sitting in your checking account and you go in and you send us a check for $20,000 to pay down the principal, it's not going to change your payment amount. It's only going to change the end date of the loan. So just be sure that you realize that it's not going to change the payment. You're still going to have a monthly bill to pay, but it's going to pay it off that much faster.
Thank you. I know with the PPP, there were specifications on how that money could be spent. Are there the same specifications for this fund?
No, Empire State Development said that they don't want to see it used for debt refinance. However, we aren't checking up on that.
Question came in. I may have missed the part on when you have to start repaying the loan. When is that?
So the interest only portion will start immediately. So I'm in the closing section of this program. So I'm actually closing loans every day, and we fund on Wednesdays here at Pursuit. So if I close your loan today and we fund you tomorrow, your first payment will be due February 1st. So based on when we close the loan, you're going to have a 30-day month that follows, and then your payment will be due that first month. We do auto deduct out of the checking account that you provide to us. And then on month 13, so a year later, your principal and interest payment will be due. It's a great question.
Thomas had a question, but I had a quick follow-up for him because I wasn't positive. But Thomas asked if there is another round of funding available. And I asked if it was for this fund. I wasn't sure.
So another round of funding from government for PPP, we feel that there is. It hasn't been decided yet. It hasn't been voted in yet. But this particular loan program is ongoing. There's money in the program. We're taking applications every day. So I don't see an end date to this program until the money runs out. Western New York is underserved in this program. So I would like to get as many applications. We've got to spread it around.
Absolutely, I appreciate that.
Renee, you and I had a conversation previous. Will accepting this money prohibit you from receiving additional funds that come out from the government? I don't think so. I haven't heard anything that it will. That is not our plan. If you have an EIDL loan in process now and you have not been approved, you can apply for this. Do not accept that EIDL loan until after we close this. When the program initially started, there was no PPP allowed for any borrowers, and that was just horrible. And Pursuit was the, I would say, the driving force behind getting that changed. We went to Empire State Development and said, come on, we've got business owners out there that are Schedule C sole proprietors. They got $3,000 in PPP. What did that do for them? So they listened, Empire State listened, they were phenomenal. And they opened it up to $50,000, which is the difference between, I think, small business and large business. So once when we were in that process, I had many borrowers when PPP was still open that I closed the loan and then did their PPP application the same day. So I would encourage you, if you're in EIDL in a status right now and you want to access New York Forward, pause EIDL.
Thank you. And you just mentioned the small business side of things. What's the cutoff in terms of defining the small business for this? $3
million in revenue or more than 20 employees.
Okay, thank you. We had a question from Michelle. My business will be moving from Onondaga to Madison County early 2021. Is that going to be an issue?
Not at all.
Question from Thomas. I was denied a back to business grant. How do I get funding for a new loan?
I don't know what a back to business grant is. So I would encourage you just to go through the application process. And if you want to shoot me an email and we can connect at a later time, we can talk about that. Each lender in this program uses their own underwriting standards. So again, you could have been declined by one lender and approved by another. So it really, we take ownership of this program and it's our underwriting standard. So if you were declined somewhere else, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be declined here. I have to say, through this program, I'm so proud of business owners, not just this program, but working through PPP. We here at Pursuit did about 7,500 PPP loans and all across New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. And borrowers were amazing. I mean, it was such a great experience as a lender to be able to help people. Again, I was on the closing side and had a lot of really, really good conversations with people. So I know that everybody's just trying to survive. You're just trying to keep it going. And I'm just blown away by that.
Absolutely. Awesome. We had one more come in. Is there a minimum profit to qualify for the loan?
No. Well, $100,000 is what we want to see. However, if you fall just below that, give me a call and we'll talk about it. Our guidelines, we allow exceptions, one exception for our guidelines. So if your credit is below 620 and your revenue is below 100,000, we're not going to be able to do both exceptions, but we can look at something on an exception basis.
Michelle asked profit or revenue?
Revenue. Profit really doesn't figure into it. We want to see that you made a profit, but this loan is based on revenue.
Yeah, I think we're in good shape on questions. I appreciate it, Nicole. This has been a pleasure.
Great. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you tuning in. Share with your friends. If you know folks that weren't able to attend, share my contact info with them. There's a lot of money I want to get it out.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Nicole, and thank you, Onondaga, for hosting this webinar. I hope everyone has a great day.